Ladies and gentlemen, listen carefully, because what I'm about to say could save your life. Not just your physical life, but your spiritual destiny. We live in a world that thrives on idolatry. It's everywhere, and most people don't even recognize it. It's not just about bowing down to a statue or a graven image anymore. No, it's more subtle than that. It's when you elevate anything above God in your life. It could be your career, your relationships, your bank account, or even your own ego. Now let me tell you, the dangers of idolatry are far greater than you think. First, idolatry misplaces your trust. When you put your faith in things that are temporary, you're building your life on a foundation that will crumble. Money can disappear in an instant. People will let you down, and power is fleeting. Yet so many people cling to these things as if they're the source of their identity and worth. Here's the reality. If you're trusting in anything that can be taken away from you, you're standing on shaky ground. Only God is unchanging, unshakable, and worthy of your trust. Everything else is sinking sand. Second, idolatry gives you false security. It lulls you into thinking that as long as you have that job, that car, that house, or that relationship, you're safe. But what happens when those things are stripped away, when the economy crashes or that person walks out of your life? If your security is tied to something temporary, you'll be left empty and broken the moment it's gone. God never designed you to find security in things that don't last. He wants you to find it in Him, the only source of true stability. And while you're busy chasing after these idols, here's the third danger. They distract you from your purpose. Think about the hours, the energy, and the focus people pour into pursuing things that have no eternal value. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you outright. He just needs to keep you distracted. Every moment you spend bowing to idols is a moment you're not investing in your God-given purpose. And let me be blunt. You can't fulfill your destiny if you're worshiping the wrong things. Idolatry doesn't stop at distraction. It corrupts your values. When you idolize something, you'll start compromising to keep it. You'll cut corners, tell lies, or abandon your principles just to maintain that idol in your life. Whether it's staying in a toxic relationship, making unethical decisions at work, or chasing status at the cost of your integrity, idolatry distorts your moral compass. And when you compromise your values, you're not just hurting yourself, you're undermining the foundation of your faith. Finally, idolatry leads to spiritual bondage. The things you worship will eventually control you. If you idolize money, you'll become a slave to greed. If you idolize power, you'll become consumed by ambition. If you idolize approval, you'll live in constant fear of rejection. These idols promise fulfillment, but they deliver emptiness. They take and take, but they never give back. And worst of all, they pull you further away from God, chaining you to cycles of dissatisfaction and despair. Now here's the hard truth. You can't serve two masters. You can't worship God while holding on to idols. It's one or the other. So I challenge you today to take a hard look at your life. What have you placed on a pedestal? What's consuming your heart and your mind? If it's not God, it's an idol. And if it's an idol, it's time to tear it down, because the longer you cling to it, the more damage it will do, not just to your life, but to your soul. The good news is this: God is ready to help you break free. He's ready to replace your idols with His peace, His purpose, and His power. But you have to make the choice. You have to let go of what's holding you back and trust Him fully. Because only when you do that will you discover the freedom, fulfillment, and destiny you were created for. When you put your trust in anything other than God, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Idolatry isn't just about worshiping statues or false gods. It's about where you place your faith, your hope, and your confidence. And let me tell you, when you trust in things that are temporary, you're building your life on a foundation that is destined to collapse. They think about it. People put their trust in money, in jobs, in relationships, in power, or even in their own abilities. They believe that as long as they have a certain amount of money in the bank, they're secure. They think that as long as they have the right connections or the right position, they're untouchable. But what happens when the stock market crashes? What happens when that job disappears? Or when the people you trusted turn their backs on you? Suddenly, the things you relied on are gone. And you're left with nothing but the sinking realization that you placed your trust in something that couldn't sustain you. That's the danger of idolatry. It gives you a false sense of security. It whispers in your ear, if you just had a little more money, you'd be safe. Or if you just had that promotion, everything would be perfect. But it's a lie. It's a trap. Because no matter how much you accumulate, it's never enough. No matter how high you climb, the ground beneath you can still crumble. Trusting in idols is like building a house on sand. When the storms of life come, and they always come, everything you've built can be washed away in an instant. Because without crucifixion, there is no salvation. Unless you know Jesus. Since Jesus came to the world before the fall, God is the only foundation that doesn't move. He is the rock, the anchor, the unshakable source of strength and stability. When you place your trust in Him, you're not relying on something that can be lost or taken away. You're relying on the one who created the universe, the one who holds all things together. And here's the beauty of it. God doesn't fail. He doesn't abandon. He doesn't shift with the seasons or collapse under pressure. He is faithful, constant, and eternal. When you trust in God, you're free from the anxiety that comes with relying on temporary things. You don't have to worry about losing what you have because you know that your security doesn't come from material possessions or human relationships. It comes from Him. That kind of trust allows you to walk with confidence even in uncertain times. It gives you peace even when the world around you is in chaos. It's the kind of trust that can't be shaken no matter what life throws your way. But here's the challenge. Trusting in God means letting go of your idols. It means surrendering your need for control, your obsession with success, your dependence on approval from others. It means saying, God, I choose to put my faith in you even when I don't see the whole picture. I choose to trust your plan even when it doesn't make sense to me. That kind of trust requires courage, but it also brings freedom. So I ask you, where is your trust today? Are you relying on things that can disappear in an instant? Or are you anchored in the one who never changes? Because when you trust in God, you're not just building a life, you're building a legacy, a foundation that can withstand any storm. That's the power of putting your trust in Him and not in the fleeting idols of this world. Idolatry has a way of luring you into a dangerous trap, one that feels comfortable, even reassuring, but is ultimately unstable and fleeting. It creates a sense of security that is nothing more than an illusion, a fragile house of cards that can collapse at any moment. When you elevate anything above God, whether it's money, status, relationships, or even your own abilities, you begin to rely on things that were never meant to sustain you. And when those things fail, as they inevitably will, the false security that they provided will shatter, leaving you exposed and vulnerable. Think about it. When your trust is in your wealth, you feel invincible until the market crashes or an unexpected expense wipes it all away. When your identity is tied to your career, you feel powerful until the company downsizes and you're left questioning your worth. When your security is wrapped up in another person, you feel safe until that relationship falters or that person leaves. These things may feel stable in the moment, but they are temporary, fragile, and ultimately outside your control. If the things about to happen get here, you need to steady yourself and retrain your mind, because this rush, this excitement, this pressure, the danger lies in the fact that these idols whisper promises of stability, fulfillment, and peace. They tell you if you just have more money, you'll be safe. If you just get that promotion, you'll finally matter. If you just find the right person, you'll never feel alone again. But these are empty promises. And when you build your life on them, you're constructing your foundation on sand. The storms of life will come, and when they do, idols will crumble under the pressure. They are incapable of holding the weight of your hopes, your dreams, or your identity. What's worse is that this false security doesn't just fail you, it blinds you. It makes you feel like you're in control, like you've got everything handled, like you don't need God. And that's the greatest deception of all. Idolatry subtly pulls your focus away from the one who is unchanging, unshakable, and eternal. And it shifts your reliance onto things that are as fleeting as the morning mist. Right? It's a counterfeit sense of stability that keeps you distracted, complacent, and vulnerable to collapse. But here's the truth you need to hear. God is the only unshakable foundation for your life. He's the only source of true security because He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. When the storms of life come, and they will come, He is the rock that cannot be moved. He doesn't shift with the economy. He doesn't abandon you when people fail. And 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 He doesn't. The security He offers isn't just about surviving the storms, it's about thriving in them. It's about having peace that surpasses understanding, joy that isn't tied to circumstances, and strength that carries you through whatever comes your way. But to experience that kind of security, you have to make a choice. You have to tear down the idols in your life and place your trust fully in Him. Only then can you trade the false security of temporary things for the unshakable security of a God who never fails. Idolatry is a thief. It steals your time, your energy, and your focus, all while whispering lies that you're on the right track. The truth is, when you place anything above God in your life, you've already begun to veer off course. Your purpose, the very reason you were created, becomes overshadowed by pursuits that have no eternal value. And the scariest part, you may not even realize it's happening until you look around one day and wonder how you ended up so far from where you were supposed to be. Think about the time and effort people invest in chasing idols. Whether it's money, fame, relationships, or success, the pursuit becomes all-consuming. You wake up thinking about it. You go to bed planning for it. And in between, you sacrifice the things that truly matter. But here's the problem. No idol will ever be enough. The moment you achieve one goal, another takes its place. And the cycle continues. You find yourself running on a treadmill, expending all your energy, but never moving forward toward what God has for you. And here's where the enemy works his magic. He doesn't need you to worship Him outright. He just needs to keep you busy. Busy chasing status, busy chasing approval, busy chasing anything that keeps you too distracted to hear God's voice or follow His plan. The enemy knows that if he can fill your life with enough noise and enough distractions, you'll miss the still small voice that's calling you to your true purpose. Let's be honest. Purpose requires clarity. It requires focus. It demands a heart that is undivided and fully committed to God. But idols fragment your attention. They pull you in 100 different directions, leaving you scattered and ineffective. How can you fully embrace God's calling on your life when your hands are already full holding on to idols? How can you walk boldly in your purpose when your feet are tangled in pursuits that were never meant to be yours? When you're distracted by idols, you also miss opportunities. God will open doors, but if you're too busy bowing to what doesn't matter, you'll walk right past them. You'll miss the divine connections, the moments of growth, and the steps forward in your calling because your vision is clouded by the pursuit of temporary things. And let me tell you, the cost of that is far greater than you realize. Every moment spent chasing idols is a moment lost in fulfilling your destiny. Idolatry doesn't just distract you, it distorts your priorities. Suddenly, things that should matter most, your relationship with God, your family, your integrity, start taking a back seat. You convince yourself that you'll get back to those things later, once you've made it or achieved what you're chasing. But later never comes. The more you prioritize your idols, the further you drift from the path God laid out for you. This isn't about guilt, it's about awareness. It's about recognizing when you've allowed something to take the place of God in your life. Because once you see it, you can take action. You can choose to lay down the idols and refocus your heart and mind on what truly matters. You can reclaim your time, your energy, and your purpose. God didn't create you to be distracted. He created you to make an impact, to walk in power, and to fulfill a unique calling that only you can accomplish. But you'll never get there if your focus is divided. It's time to silence the noise, let go of what doesn't matter, and realign your heart with Him. Because when you do, you'll find that His purpose for you is far greater than anything you could have ever imagined. When you allow idolatry into your life, one of the most dangerous consequences is how it distorts and corrupts your values. You see, when you prioritize anything above God, it changes the way you see everything else. What once seemed important becomes irrelevant, and what should be irrelevant suddenly takes center stage. Idol worship is like a filter that warps the truth and distorts reality. Instead of seeing life clearly through the lens of God's righteousness, you begin to view everything through the lens of whatever you've placed on that pedestal. Take a moment and think about it. When you idolize money, what happens to your view of relationships? The people who once mattered most can quickly become tools for your own advancement. People become objects to be used, not souls to be cherished. You'll sacrifice your integrity, your honesty, and your true connection with others just to secure a little more wealth, a little more success. You'll justify actions that you once thought were beneath you. All in the name of what? All in the name of something temporary, something that cannot fulfill your deepest needs. Idolatry doesn't just corrupt your relationships with others, it corrupts your relationship with yourself. When you place your identity in the wrong things, you lose sight of who you were truly created to be. The approval of others, the chase for fame, or the obsession with perfection will make you bend your morals, distort your values, and ultimately create a version of yourself that is not authentic. I know. You become a slave to the image you're trying to portray, trapped in a never-ending cycle of self-doubt and insecurity. It's never enough. The more you worship the idol, the less you understand your true worth, and the more you fall short of your God-given potential. When you make success, status, or any worldly thing your idol, it impacts how you make decisions. The choices you make are no longer driven by your principles, by truth, or by the values that align with God's will. Instead, they are motivated by fear. Fear of losing what you've idolized. Fear of not measuring up. Fear of being overlooked. It's a dangerous game to play Because the more you prioritize these idols, the more your values deteriorate. You'll start to cut corners, lie, or compromise your integrity to get ahead, to maintain the illusion of success. What once was a moral standard becomes a flexible line, constantly shifting to suit your desires. But deep down, you'll feel the emptiness. You'll feel the disconnect between what you're doing and who you know you should be. The truth is, no idol can ever satisfy your soul. It only leaves you hungrier, chasing after something that will never deliver. The impact of idolatry on your values is like a slow poison. It seeps in without you even realizing it, until one day you wake up and realize you've lost yourself. You've lost your ability to tell right from wrong, to distinguish between good and evil, to pursue what truly matters. And all of this happens because your focus shifted from the eternal to the temporary, from the creator to creation. It's a subtle shift, but it's deadly. The more you bow to idols, the more your moral compass is recalibrated. Not by God's truth, but by the shifting winds of the world's standards. If you want to reclaim your values, if you want to live a life of integrity and honor, you have to reject the idols that are corrupting your soul. You have to make the hard choice to turn away from everything that promises fulfillment, but only leaves you empty. You have to choose what is eternal over what is temporary. This isn't just about following rules or being moral for the sake of it. It's about aligning your life with the truth, with the Creator who made you and who designed you to live with purpose, honor, and strength. When you remove the idols from your life, you realign yourself with the values that God intended for you. You choose honesty over deception, love over selfishness, faith over fear. You choose integrity over compromise. And when you make those choices, you'll find that your life begins to reflect something much greater than yourself. A life that is rooted in divine purpose, grounded in truth, and free from the corruption that idols bring. It's time to take a stand. It's time to reclaim your values. Let go of the idols that have distorted your vision and hold on to the principles that will lead you to the life you were meant to live. Idolatry doesn't just deceive you, it binds you. It traps you in a cycle of spiritual oppression and leads you into a kind of slavery that most people don't even realize they're in. When you choose to elevate anything above God, whether it's success, relationships, money, or status, you're willingly handing over your freedom. And here's the thing, idols may promise you everything, but what they really give you is nothing. Idols may tell you that your life is amazing, and when you really give you is nothing. They steal your peace, your joy, your self-worth, and most of all, your connection with the Creator. And this steals your purpose, this steals your vision, this steals your devotion, this steals your belief that you are meant for more. Think about it. When you become obsessed with acquiring more money, more recognition, more possessions, you're constantly running, never feeling satisfied, always reaching for something that is just out of your grasp. And in that chase, you're not free. You're a slave to the pursuit. You wake up every day thinking that this thing, this achievement, or this relationship will finally make you whole. But when you get it, you realize that it doesn't. It's never enough. And that's where the bondage starts. The more you crave it, the more you depend on it, and the more it controls you. The enemy loves this. He loves when people get caught in the lie of idolatry because he knows that the longer you stay in bondage, the further you drift from your true purpose. The longer you stay in spiritual slavery, the less you hear the voice of God calling you to something higher. Your mind becomes consumed by the idol, and it drowns out the whisper of God's direction. You become spiritually numb, unable to move forward, unable to grow. The chains of idolatry wrap tighter around you with every passing day. When you're in spiritual bondage, you start to believe the lie that you need these idols to survive. You begin to lose sight of who you are and whose you are. The very thing that you thought would bring you fulfillment becomes your master. It tells you when to act, how to think, and where to place your value. And when you fall short, when you can't meet its demands, it leaves you broken, feeling worthless, and enslaved to the pursuit of more. But the worst part of spiritual bondage is that it's self-perpetuating. The more you try to escape, the tighter the grip becomes. You're not just trapped in one area of your life, you're trapped in every area. Your relationships, your thoughts, your choices, your future, they all start to revolve around that idol. It doesn't matter if it's a person, a career, or even a dream you've made into a god. As long as you serve it, you remain bound. Here's the truth though, you were never meant to live in chains. God designed you for freedom, for purpose, for greatness. You are a child of the Most High, destined to walk in power and confidence. But that can't happen if you're chained to false gods, to idols that only rob you of your identity and your divine calling. The moment you let go of these idols, whether they're physical, emotional, or spiritual, you open the door to true freedom. You reclaim your identity, your peace, and your purpose. The chains can be broken. The lies can be shattered, but it starts with a choice. A choice to turn away from what's holding you back and to run toward the only one who can truly set you free. The only one who can fill that emptiness, who can give you the strength to walk in the purpose you were born for. It's time to break free from the idols that have kept you in bondage and step into the fullness of life that God has promised you. You were made for more, and it's time to claim it. So I challenge you today to take a hard look at your life. What is holding you back? What idol has taken root in your heart and mind, leading you down a path of spiritual bondage? It's time to confront those false gods, to recognize the chains that have been quietly binding you, and to make a choice. You don't have to stay enslaved to the pursuit of things that can never satisfy. You don't have to live under the weight of idols that pull you further from your true calling. God is offering you freedom. He is extending His hand, ready to release you from the spiritual chains that have held you captive. But you must make the decision to let go, to turn away from what has kept you in bondage, and to place your trust fully in Him. When you do, you will experience a peace that surpasses understanding, a purpose that drives you, and a freedom that is beyond anything you could ever imagine. Don't let idolatry keep you from stepping in the life you were meant to live. Break the chains, reclaim your identity, and walk in the victory that has already been given to you. You are destined for greatness, but that greatness begins when you let go of what holds you back and embrace the freedom found only in Christ. It's time to step into your future, free from idols, free from bondage, and fully aligned with the purpose God has for your life.